All right, welcome to Husker Storm blog. So let's talk about the Penn State-Nebraska game. So Nebraska's offense came out a little slow in the first half. Blame that on the wide receivers. They've been inconsistent all year. Now, when they are good, they're real good. I mean, they got talent out wide, but they struggle a lot of time with the drops. Taylor Martinez was putting the ball on the spot, but they only got 29 yards in the first quarter. Now, they weren't running the option game that much, but they should have put some points on the scoreboard without beating themselves. They ended up going up 10-0 at halftime. Two efficient-looking drives, and great pitch by Taylor Martinez to start off the third quarter on that drive. I mean, that was the best option he's run all year, and that was definitely Frazier-esque and Frost-esque and Turner-Gill-esque and the best that I played, Eric Crouch-esque, the best option quarterbacks that I played in Nebraska. He's definitely developing at that, and his passing game was good in that game. Now, he was 13 for 26, that's 50%, if you can't count. But there was, at the minimum, 4 balls that should have been caught. Really, if you watch the game, there's about 8 balls that should have been caught. But if you just add 4 balls to that, that's almost a 60% passer rating, maybe 60% completion percentage. But, I mean, there should have been 8 balls that were caught. There's a couple miscommunicated routes, a couple bad routes. And you didn't really see any bad decisions from him. I mean, he's just looked very impressive in the pocket of late. And so, Nebraska was up 17-0. They brought in that wrinkle with that I-form and switching Burkhead up there and putting him under center. Now, I mean, sometimes it worked good, and then there was that one time where, it's a good play. I was watching, I didn't like the play call, but, if you think about it, if it would have worked, you would have liked it. But the offensive line's got to stand strong there. And, they fumbled it, and they gave it to Penn State and allowed them to come back with that there. So it ended up being 17-14. The defense played well. They weren't perfect. They played good against the run, I thought. Now, Penn State did have 368 yards, but about 100 of those, I'd say roughly 100, maybe less, came on 2 plays. Now, the deep pass to Moy, there's good coverage by Andrew Green in the safety, but they didn't play the ball well. And Moy's a better athlete than them, and he went up and caught the ball. He's used to playing the ball. Okay, so that happened. And then there's this play where they picked up 40 yards. It deflects off a defender or receiver's hands or something. The ball was swatted up in the air, and the receiver caught it, and he ran for about 30 more yards. So they picked up 40 yards on that. So that's 100 yards on 2 plays. So, I mean, you held them to, without those 2 plays, 260 yards. I mean, you did a good job defensively. 14 points is really what matters, and that's enough for you to win the game. The offense was really conservative in the third and fourth quarter, and even Beck acknowledged that. So, I expect them to be a little bit more aggressive here and definitely see, some more wrinkles. But it was a good game for Nebraska under weird circumstances, and props to Penn State for playing hard. But now it's another week of college football. This is going to be a look at Nebraska at Michigan. Here we come, the Hungry Huskers looking for a potential BCS game for the first time since 2001. Same with Michigan. Both 2-loss teams. If they lose again, probably a chance they won't get in there. They're hoping Stanford or Houston can find a way to lose. But even if Stanford doesn't lose, there's a good chance that the BCS takes Nebraska or Michigan, whoever wins this game, to the Fiesta Bowl, because Stanford's not going to draw the crowds that those two huge fan bases do. This is a game of 2 of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in the nation, or Wildcat quarterbacks. Shoelace isn't very dual-threat, and Tim Martinez has been developing his dual-threat ability. Denard Robinson has not been what he was last year. There are many things you can attribute to that. His new coaching staff, offensive scheme, and defense is finding a way to contain him. But I really think it goes on the new offensive coordinator. Rich Rod utilized him in great ways. Got him able to. He was able to scramble. I mean, he had 1,700 yards last year. and this year he's about 700 short of that. And his passing numbers are horrendous. He can be Michigan's best friend, but he can also be their worst enemy with his terrible decisions. So, T-Magic is different case this year than last year. A little slightly off of his running stats that he had last year, rushing stats. And you can attribute that to better defensive play. The Big Ten is much better, and a little bit more reliance on Rex Burkhead and a young offensive line, but definitely more to the Big Ten defense is much better than the Big 12 defenses. His passing may not be the same as last year. His percentage was slightly higher at this point in the season. But he could be above 60% if it wasn't for inconsistent wideout play. He's playing his best game right now. His option game has improved, and his pocket presence has improved. I mean, ridiculous if you compare it to last year and this year. Yeah, he's making great decisions, and the game's obviously slowed down for him. Very similar quarterbacks, but T-Magic is far better than Shoelace in the passing game. Now, he's not as agile as Denard Robinson, but I think Denard is faster in the end, but I think Taylor Martinez gets to his top speed quicker. But if Denard Robinson's out in the field, in open field, he's hard to bring down because he'll burn you. Now Taylor Martinez, much easier to bring down, doesn't have that cutting ability like Shoelace. The offensive edge is overwhelmingly Nebraska because of the quarterback and the running back play. Yes, Fitz has come alive, but Rex Burkhead is much more consistent than him. And we'll see what Fitz can do with a defense that's going to be stacking the box for sure. The defenses are very close. Michigan has made great improvements. It's really impressive if you look at any of the stats compared to last year. But it still lacks the athletes. Nebraska has those athletes and playmakers now. The defense isn't playing consistent, but when they do play good, they're playing much better than when they play terribly bad like Wisconsin, Washington, Fresno State, and Northwestern, and even Ohio State the first half. They may have what appears to be a weaker defense, but the best offense Michigan has faced is Northwestern and Notre Dame. Now, Northwestern has a good offense. Notre Dame has a very inconsistent offense. Both of those teams put up points on them. Nebraska has faced Wisconsin, the most balanced and most efficient offense in college football. Ohio State, inconsistent but a good run game. Washington has got Chris Polk, best running back in the Pac-12, and a good quarterback in Keith Price. Michigan has a harder job against a consistently good offense and the option. Now, consistently good, meaning that they're not like Michigan, where they're not gonna hurt themselves with mistakes. I mean, they did not Northwestern game, but it wasn't Taylor Martinez. Taylor Martinez was spot on in that game. Now, he had some bad reads in terms of the option game, but his passing is spot on. Now, the offensive line play has been inconsistent, but it's been more consistently good. And the option's hard to stop. But Nebraska has really struggled with dual-threat quarterbacks. After this breakdown on both sides of the ball, Nebraska has the edge. Although the big house is daunting, Nebraska has played better on the road than at home. I mean, that's just been the case under Bo Pelini. I'm not just saying this year. I mean, yeah, they played really Minnesota, Penn State, Wyoming, and Wisconsin this year. Yeah, they're 3-1, but they only had really 2 tests out of those games, Penn State and Wisconsin, and they got smashed by Wisconsin. But the defense is playing much better than it was then, and the offense isn't dropping back and passing it 15 times. So the play calling is much better, and they have an offensive identity now. Expect to be points on the board, no question about it. But Denard's going to make some mistakes. I say 2 interceptions, maybe a fumble. And Rex Burkhead, he's going to get 100 yards today. And I think T-Magic's going to get 200 passing yards. I got Nebraska at 250 rushing yards, Shoelace over 100 on the ground, but struggles greatly through the air and gets dinged up in the end. 37-24 Nebraska. Nebraska will silence the crowd with a dominating start and a 20-0 lead. If you look at their last 3 big games, Michigan State, they jumped out 10-0. It was 17-3 at one point, 24-3 the final. They jumped out 17-0 on Penn State. If they jump out 20-0 in this game, it's still not over yet. But I think they force a little bit of mistakes at the beginning of the game by Shoelace, but he starts to pick it up a little bit, and he finds that there's room to scramble on the defense. Cuts the lead to 6, 20-14 at halftime. Nebraska starts out hot at the start of the second half, just like they always do, go up 30-17. Then explodes into the end zone at the start of the fourth. Bednar tries to make a comeback but doesn't have enough in his arm. 37-24, Nebraska coasts back to Lincoln. So I got Nebraska winning this one. Great to watch this game, and a lot at stake, even though not a chance for a Big Ten championship. I mean, Michigan State's probably not going to lose their last 2 games. The only one that they can be scared of is Northwestern. But don't sleep on Indiana. But, I don't think they're going to win. Yep, that's it. Check back next week as we talk about what happened in college football.